The movie begins with a scene where we see a mysterious forest. There are many things hidden inside this forest, and people are searching for those things. Then, we see a man who is entering into this Amazon forest to search for those antique things. He came here with a team named Aguirre. Then we got to know that the thing they are searching for is named Tears of the Moon. Then we see the next scene. The team was searching for it, but then suddenly, the forest plants attacked them. The team got attacked very brutally. Then we see a wild tribe pass through that place. The tribesmen come to them and witnessing their conditions. Then Aguirre requests them to help them and recover them. Then they took them to their home. But Aguirre is an evil-minded person. He didn't thank them, but was still thinking about the tears of the moon in his mind. He asked the arrowhead of that place, but they refused to give it. Then Aguirre and his team killed them and got those arrowheads. But the leader of the tribe gives them a curse before dying, that they will all continue to wander here all their life, and if somehow they moved outside this forest, then just after crossing the river, they would turn into a stone. Now, we see the scene from the present where a girl named Lily and her brother are shown. We see that Lily's brother was telling about the tears of the moon to everyone present there. Then we also got to know that the tears of the moon is a tree which is very beneficial. It is a very magical tree which is searched by many people. It is so beneficial that its leaves can cure any disease. It can also be used for making high-level medicines. The meeting and the speech ends there. After this, we see Lily with a man called Prince. Then they talked for a while, and then Lily went upstairs. Then we see that Lily got those arrowheads in a box and she ran. Meanwhile, the prince saw her when she was running. She couldn't go away and was stuck in a window in the middle of the air. The prince told her to give his box back. Then she knew that the box was empty, so she threw it towards him and then somehow ran away. And she reached her home with the keys of the tears of the moon. They came here in search of arrowheads. In the next scene, we see the angry prince who wants to arrest Lily and her brother anyhow. Now we see the next scene in which we see clips from the forest. There are people sitting in a boat and there was a guide whose name is Frank. He used to earn money through his job of guiding the tourists. One day, a man came with his parrot and his team. He had lent money to Frank and was asking for the return. Frank asked him to give him some more time, but he refused, and then he locked his boat's engine in his truck and went away. Frank followed him, and then he planned to rob his keys. Meanwhile, Lily also came to that place, and when they both met, Lily thought he is the man who is the owner of this place. But then the real owner came. Then Lily refused to go with him to see the forest. But then Frank saw the arrowheads in her neck and offered her a low amount, but she still refused. Then suddenly, a leopard came there. Everyone hid, but only Frank faced him bravely and threw it out of that place. Lily got impressed after seeing his bravery, hence decided to go with him to see the forest. Frank also got his engine, and hence they started their journey on ship. The ship was about to start, but then suddenly, few men came and captured her in a cage, but she was a very clever and bold girl. She somehow managed to open the lock of the cage, and when they came to hold her, she kicked them so hard and then covered their face and ran away with Frank. Lily knew that these were Prince's men. She flew from a very high place and started crossing the river, but fell down before she could do it. Then Frank came and helped her. He assisted her to rise up from the ground. He asked her to swim, and then he started crossing the river. But Lily had hydrophobia, and she cannot swim, so she decided to come from the direct path, but those men were after her. She somehow manages to escape, but then we see that the prince had also come, and he had started firing gunshots towards her. He was in a submarine and was shooting towards Frank's boat, but Frank was a brave guy. He managed to escape his boat from those gunshots. Prince also shoots 2 torpedoes from his submarine. But then suddenly, Frank moved his boat very quickly in the opposite direction, and finally, he evades being shot by those torpedoes. Meanwhile, Prince's own submarine got stuck there and hence stopped there. On the other hand, Frank and Lily started their journey towards the forest. Then we see the night scene where Frank has stopped his boat for rest. Then he also catches some fish for dinner. Then we see that Frank and Lily are talking with each other. But then suddenly, Lily's brother came. He was followed by a leopard and he was shaking due to fear. But Frank told him not to get scared as it is his pet. After hearing this, Lily got angry. She blamed him that you played a trick with me so that I can come with you. Then in the next scene, we see Prince who is entering into a cave with the help of a rope. Then he sees Aguirre and his team, who had turned into stones because of the curse. But the prince had a plan which was full of dirty thoughts and actions. He threw some water on Aguirre, by which 2 snakes came out. He told them to give him a favor. He told them that a girl is about to come here, and she has arrowheads with her. If you would be able to give me that, I will make you free from this curse. They all agreed to this deal because they had no choice. And then Prince threw a few drops of water in each one of them. Then they started moving towards the boat of Frank. That place was full of danger, and then we saw that a huge storm broke there. The ship was about to fall in the storm, but then Frank used all his strength and moved it towards a safe place. But then the boat got destroyed, so Frank stopped it at a place so that he can repair it. Meanwhile, we see that Lily is searching for something in Frank's boat, and then she found a book in which there were details of Tears of the Moon. And then Lily also got to know that Frank is also searching for the same tree. Then Frank also arrives there. Lily says to him that you are also searching for the same tree, and you helped us so that you can get it easily, right? But Frank says that it is not in my fate, and hence now I am not searching for it. Then Lily says that this time you would be able to find it because I have the arrowheads. But then suddenly they heard the sound and then they walked outside to check. There were many wild people who came to capture them and succeed. Frank knows their language, so he started talking with them. Frank told them that Lily and her brother are guiltless, so let them go. But they refused and asked him to give them the arrowheads. Frank told this to Lily, but she refused it totally. Then she was about to attack them with a spear, but then suddenly the chief of the group spoke up. Then Lily got to know that this was Frank's plan and she slapped him. Then the chief of the group started telling them about the location of this forest. Frank asked her to take the help, but she refused. Then Aguirre and his companions reached there. They were looking so dangerous and horrible. Aguirre was about to snatch those arrowheads from her neck, and for this he may kill her also. Frank suddenly holds her and takes her to the safe side. But somehow, Aguirre succeeded in snatching the arrowheads. Then Frank started fighting with him, but he was so dangerous and his snakes were also fighting with Frank. Somehow, Frank got success in snatching that arrowheads, but then Aguirre hit him in his heart, but before falling into the river, he threw it to Lily. Lily got very upset. Then the chief of the group asked her to go to the opposite side of the river because they were cursing and they would not be able to go there. Lily says goodbye to her brother and crosses the river. Lily's brother also comes after her when she was walking in the morning. Meanwhile, she found the body of Frank, but then she realized that he was alive. Frank told her that do not worry, I am not going to die because I have been cursed for the last 400 years. Lily somehow manages to throw out the spear from his heart. Seeing all this, her brother collapsed. Meanwhile, Lily decided to go ahead with Frank. Also, the group leader told her that the tears of the moon will brighten till the time of lunar eclipse. Frank told her that I was also a part of Aguirre's team. He was searching tears of the moon for his daughter because she was ill. But when the tribe's people refused to give him the arrowheads, he killed them and got cursed. I was the one who threw them towards the river and I got alive. Then we see that some flies told the prince about the address of Lily. The prince moved to capture Lily, but on his way there, her younger brother captured him and asked where Lily is. Then he tells him everything. Meanwhile, Frank and Lily got to know that those arrowheads will open a door which is underwater. In the beginning, Lily got scared, but then Frank convinced her, and then they went underwater. Lily was about to open the door, but she fell and Frank stayed outside. Then some fishes attacked them, and due to this, Lily didn't get oxygen and collapsed, but somehow she managed to open the door and the water started to flow towards the sea. Then the place becomes dry. They were about to open the door, but then the prince came there and threatened her. Lily loves her brother and she gave the arrowheads to him. Then all of them moved towards that door. Then they found that the tree was dry. Now they asked Frank to bloom it with the arrowheads. Frank put a condition that he would do it, but he wants to die, so kindly make him free from the curse. But when he saw the tree, he got confused and didn't get where to put the arrowheads. Then he asked Lily to do a favor, so she said, "If I help you, then I also need a flower." Prince said that there will be only one flower, so only one will get it. Then Frank says to Lily that you can keep the flower, but after getting it, please kill me because I want to die. And she agreed to him. She tried to put it on but failed. Then she recalled what the chief of the tribe told her. She broke the keys and then she found a heart-shaped gem. She put it in a place which looked like a heart, and then suddenly the tree started blooming with lights, and there were pink flowers too. Meanwhile, Frank attacked the princess man, and Lily went to catch the flower, but there was only 1 minute left. She somehow got a small flower and threw it downwards. Frank caught that flower and told the prince and Aguirre to chase him. Frank started running with his sheep. Meanwhile, Lily's brother and leopard stayed there. Prince died when a huge stone was thrown on him. On the other hand, Aguirre and his team attacked Frank, but he fought bravely. But then they reached a place where they all again converted into stones. Lily's brother gave him the flower, which Frank handed over to him. Lily got very emotional, and she went to search for him, but then she saw that all of them had converted into stones. She puts the flower into the mouth of Frank, but nothing happens. She gets disappointed and starts to walk away. But then she turned back and saw that Frank was moving, and then blood was also coming, which means he is now curse-free. Lily hugged him, and they got very excited. Meanwhile, Frank saw a flower was still blooming. He caught it, and then Lily and all of them moved to London. Now Lily made many medicines from that flower, and they became rich and famous. Also, Lily and Frank is now married, and they are living happily. And with the scene, the movie ends.